Okay. This is future me, and I'm going to talk about this before the game starts. Um, Games for the MLB Power Pros World Series will be every Saturday at 9 p.m. EDT. This will probably change once the time zones switch on daylight savings time or whatever it is. I don't know if we're going up or going down, but we'll talk about that when that time comes, if that time comes. And in general, I hope this preview can give you some hope, give you some insight into the games, and hopefully you can watch this MLB Power Pros World Series with some knowledge of Power Pros, but even just having a more ideas of what this series could look like. See you guys. Hello, everyone. My name is Kungfupandacam, and this is about the MLB Power Pros 2008 World Series. The MLB Power Pros World 2025 World Series. So, over the summer, we created two 25-man teams, and we're going to face them off in a roster. So, let's talk about what this is. It is two teams creating 25-man teams, that's what I've said, but each player had to be of equal or less than another named NPC's numerical ratings. Where do these NPCs come from? Success mode. So that's what's really cool. You get to place your players based off of success mode players. Now, any abilities are allowed. So that is very helpful. And you can also change the pitch types, the pitches, and the handedness to change based off preferences. You could choose how many pitches they have. You could choose what those pitches were. And anything is kind of allowed. And also, all abilities are allowed. So what this means is that most of the time, the numerical ratings were trying to be equal, and then getting as many abilities as you could. Now, each user can only make one player from each AA or AAA team. So that means you can't make two Gills, two Jonathans, but also that you can't make a Jonathan and another player off of the Blackjacks. Or the something. There's some kind of gambling team. Per team, only one player can make Galaxy Star 6, which is the best player in the game, and that player will generally probably flip the scales of one game at any moment. And if you had four of those, kind of doesn't flip the game, kind of doesn't have a star player, so it just makes more sense to only have one to make things not get goofy. So what we are going to do is highlight both teams by first analyzing the numerical ratings and the abilities of the teams. Then we'll highlight individual players as we sim a whole season with both teams. And then we'll see how both teams do against each other in league mode. So first, I'm going to look at three things here. This, and this. So this is stamina, control, and top speed. And if we look at the Supremes, better top speed, better control, better stamina. So if we're looking at it, the blank Supremes have better top speed, control, and stamina. The Flyers have a slightly better number with their starters. I think it's mainly in control. I think it's like a 6-point lead on the Archideld and the Yates too. And Yates, so that's the difference. But there's 14 pitchers, while the blank Supremes only have 9. Which means they have a deeper bullpen. But the numerical ratings don't tell everything, right? We talk about how all abilities are allowed. And teams had some patterns here, right? So the Supremes had better voice pitchers. They had better pitchers with Lucky. They had more pitchers with Battler. They had more pitchers with Intimidator. And lastly, they had more pitchers with Recovery. Now, Recovery and Battler and Intimidator aren't as meaningful as you would think. Recovery talks about recovery in over a season or over a league mode, and Intimidator is really only have an effect in the 9th inning. Now, Poise is a big ability. It helps stop our pitchers from being rattled, and when they're rattled, they lose stamina very quickly, they lose their top speed, they lose their break on pitches, and their number of mistake pitches increases. So that's a huge ability to stop your pitchers from really having really terrible games. Lucky gives your teammates better hitting ratings. So if you have a starting pitcher with Lucky, that means they are going to score more. Their teammates are going to score more runs. And Battler is just the probably most OP ability in the game. It gives immunity to Intimidator. Reduces batter's power, like ground ball pitcher, and helps stops pitchers from being rattled. With like poise, but it's conditional based off of them not giving up more than 2 runs, and them being either winning or tied. So let's look at the Blank Supremes at hitting. Contact we'll look at later, but power, and I would like to look at these arm strength and fielding abilities. And if we look at the Flyers, they have less fielding abilities, and look here, less power by around 6 points. So the Blank Supremes have better power by 5 points, and they have better fielding stats. And they also have 16 position players, compared to the Flyers' 13 at most, when Yates and Yates 2 have played two-way. So it would seem the Blank Supremes have better hitting ratings, and I think that's also backed up in the abilities. If we look at the abilities that matter here, or there's big differences, I'd say clutch hit, I would say table setter, walk-off hitter, rally hitter, and probably lastly is Intimidator. All these other abilities are mainly fielding abilities that don't matter as much day to day. So the Flyers are going to be better with runners on scoring position. They're also going to be better with having Intimidator, which will help because the Blank Supremes do not have as many battler pitchers. So this means when you have Intimidator, you are reducing the pitcher's control and stamina very quickly. So this one means the Blank Supremes will be out of games quicker, but also that they will be giving up more mistake pitches and pitches that are not hitting where you want them to do. So why do I think the Blank Supremes may have better hitting? Well, it's because they have table setter, bases clear, rally hitter, and walk-off hitter. Right, table setter allows you to have more contact and power when there's no runner on base. Bases clearer does the same thing when the bases are loaded. Rally hitter does the same thing when you're behind in games and in walk-off situations for walk-off hitter. So this kind of makes the Blank Supremes able to score runs at pretty much any clutch spot and have some sort of advantage there. And let's look at the Sims. All right, the Flyers went 149-13. That's very good. They swept in the postseason. Big stat here: 42 straight wins. And now a big stat here I wanted to look at is runs. They only gave up 168. That is almost 1 run per game. So that's almost under a run per game if they'd lost 7 runs, basically. That's huge. And if you look at the pitchers, everyone really pitched well. Karpov pitched well. Spikes pitched well. Tyler Yates pitched well. If you look at strikeouts, Tyler Yates pitched really, really well. And if we look at quality starts, I'm going to look at this stat. Karpov had all quality starts in the season. And now Tyler Yates has all of the abilities that we talked about. And he has another one that we will talk about a little bit more, is good delivery and safe pitch. So good delivery is an ability that helps you kind of tunnel pitches. If you don't know if you've ever seen that, where you'll look at a pitcher and they pitch from the same angle and they can throw 2 different pitches, and that does mess with the AI a little bit. And safe pitch is an ability that helps when there is a mistake pitch, that mistake pitch can be out of a hitting zone. Karpov has the same thing: good delivery, safe pitch, and all the other abilities, including all the ratings. Milo Spikes, same thing. So that's 3 pitchers that are basically perfect. And then we have Darren King, who is not perfect, but has, some good abilities here. I would say probably good enough for a long reliever in this series. Ear has battler. We wish he had Lucky, but I'd say a very good pitcher regardless. All right, let's look at some of the relievers. We're going to look at 3 of them because only 3 of them really pitched. That is McCoy, Kita, and Piglet. If we see, they pitched very well. 11 holds, 10 holds, 32 saves. Not many saving opportunities. Let's look at how many complete games there were. I think, what are we looking at? A lot? Like a lot? Let's say, what? That's 20 35, 50, 60, around 60, around 60, 70. Like, it's kind of crazy. Piglet here has a lot of the abilities. We're missing Intimidator, but that's about it. Kita has Intimidator, but we're missing Battler. We're missing Lucky. Also missing Good Delivery, and we're also missing Safe Pitch. But overall, good enough ratings. And we have McCoy, who has everything. And that kind of gives us a good rotation there. Now let's look at the hitting. I'm going to talk about this 298 average. That's a little crucial later. And also a 929 runs. That's also very high. So let's look at this. Corky Trask hit really well. I'm going to look at these three hitters here. Corky Trask, A.A. Ron, and Puffles does not really play in the games. Also, even though his average is high, we'll see later that he doesn't really hit anything other than home runs and average. Like 15 home runs isn't anything to smoke at, but we're not really looking at a great hitter here. So yeah, let's look at. We have a 966 OPS by Corky Trask. That's the 9-hole hitter, by the way. We have Skip Marlowe, the leadoff hitter, with a 1,000 OPS. A.A. Ron, who is your 8 hitter in most of the time, is hitting 920, and Terry Triples has an 884 OPS. So Corky Trask has all of the abilities that you would want. Hooray! His walk-off hitter, rally hitter, first ball hitter, like basically anything you would want. Refined is a big one that helps just make any balls kind of like just random like flyouts just become hits with Refined. It's not really sure what it does. I think it just like hits balls where the fielders aren't, but I'm not exactly sure how it works. And Intimidator, of course. Skip Marlowe also has all of the abilities. Hooray! And A.A. Ron does not have all the abilities, but 12 contact, 142 power, still plays in Sims. Finally, we have Terry Triples, who has all of the abilities but Intimidator, but still 169 power and D contact, but with all of these abilities, very much will play. Alright, let's look at the awards. Tyler Yates with 405 strikeouts wins the Cy Young, and Skip Marlowe wins the MVP and Rookie of the Year. We have Corky Trask and A. Ron winning Silver Sluggers. And now we get the Supremes. The Supremes went 144 and 18. Really great season. They also went undefeated in the playoffs. Here we'll look at two things. 283 average. Also keynote, 924 runs. That is 5 less than the Flyers got. So, the hope is that they can pitch better. Or hit better, basically. But anyway, if you look at the hitting stats, everyone really pitched well, hit well. The 4 here are what we're going to talk about. Really, Kevin Nagelny, if we look at his stats, he hit 363 with 32 home runs and a 1.09 OPS, which in 2008 terms is insane. So Kevin Nagelny has pretty much all the abilities. We're missing a pull hitter, I believe, and walk-off hitter. But I mean, maybe and bump master, but that might be a meta thing to be able to get away with more hits and not have to bunt more. We also have, pull hitter, which can help with home runs, but if you're looking for average, 12, not having pull hitter helps. And walk-off hitter is just a miss. Now, if we look at Willie Dustis does have bunt master. We're missing this stat here, which is, bases clearer, walk-off hitter, and rally hitter. But if we're looking at those other than those 4 abilities, this is a really good hitter. All the good strike zones. Tank Dagwell is missing Intimidator, basically, and that's it. But as we said, this kind of profile, which is the same as Terry Triples, does play. And Tony Sandael has a lot of the abilities. Not many of the clutch abilities, but I would say that the ratings are good enough. And even a player that does not reach all the Jonathan ratings can still hit against the Sims. And here's the big thing. 244 runs and a 1.48 ERA. As we talked about, the Flyers had a .98 or something ERA, and the runs were 169, I believe, or 168. That is a 80 runs difference over 162 games. That's about half a run a game. And if you're scoring less, even if it's by a small margin, that's still a very huge statistic to look out for. So here we have Dickie Lovelady, Mike Hernandez, Sid Finz, and Archibald. These are the 4 starters I want to talk about. We'll talk about Joe Random later. Sid Finz had 436 strikeouts, and also more games started because I think the games kind of plugged out with Swingman and everything. Alright, let's look at this. Dickie Lovelady has pretty much all the abilities that you would want. Only looking for lucky, maybe a good delivery here, but I would say Dickie Lovelady might be one of the better starters. We have Sid Finz, who we're looking for this stat here, with safe pitch and good delivery, intimidator. As we said, we can take it or leave it. On Mike Hernandez, missing battler. So this is a common theme, and we'll get this from Archibald, which I believe has gyro ball instead of intimidator, which are you have to pick one. But if we're looking at this, I would say every pitcher but Archibald perhaps is not perfect, and that could be a big thing in these games. It could be it's a small margin, so I don't know if you'll see it over 7 games. But I think with it being 3 different pitchers, and 2 of which are not starters, and 1 of which isn't even a starter, we're looking at a team that is also missing abilities on most of their starters. And that could be a huge turning point in the series. Alright, now we can go to the relievers. We'll look at Grewcock, we'll look at Sweeney. We're not going to look at Peter Attrell until later, and D.A. Mixon we don't really have to talk about. But basically, Grewcock and Sweeney got a lot of the holds and save opportunities that you could get. Sweeney, big thing here, 86 miles per hour. We're missing some abilities too, but I would say the big thing is mainly, and Intimidator would be very nice here, but mainly the 86 miles per hour and the 1 pitch that Grewcock has. It's really going to be wondering how these guys do with low velocity, but we'll see that in the series. The Sims didn't have a problem. Like, it was a 117 and a 181. That's pretty good. Alright, as for awards, all of them. McDykel won Fielder of the Year. He also won Hitter of the Year, Silver Slugger, and another Silver Slugger for Nagelny. So I think the big thing, 80 more runs. Is the Blank Supreme's rotation correct? Is it better than the Flyers? And mainly, can these 3 hitters, the Jonathans, who have the best ratings, are they going to hit? So let's look at league mode. And in league mode, the Flyers did win. So that's really good for them. And also, I want to talk about the runs, right? ERA, there's a 1 ERA difference, 1 run difference. But if we look at the actual runs, it's around a half a run. So the Flyers give up about, more than a half a run less than the Supremes do. And what's even bigger here, I think, is that they have a 308 average compared to the 266. So in season mode, we had the Supremes with the 288, 280 something, and the Supremes with the 290 something, and the Flyers are still hitting well. So on the pitching side, not much to talk about. Summers Gray was bad. Darren King, without the abilities we talked about, was bad. Eeyore had some troubles. But really, Tyler Yates, Victor Karpov, and Milo Spikes gave us some pitching performances you can live with. And on the other side, we can't really say much, right? I'd say Archibald gives you stuff. Hernandez gives you stuff. Dickie Lovelady does not really give you stuff. And, these are serviceable relieving, but not dominant. But I think the biggest difference is here. We have Joe Random really pitching well, pitching badly. We have Peter Attrell pitching well. And we have a good, terrible performance from Sid Finch. So Peter Attrell, also a 1-pitch pitcher, but 98, 91 miles per hour. So that does seem to play a little better in these sims. But Joe Random, not hitting the control maximum. Also, we do not have good delivery. We do not have safe pitch. We do not have battler. We do not have intimidator. We do not have lucky. So where are those stats? And also, I want to also talk about the pitch mix. They all go down, right? The knuckleball goes down. The original knuckleball goes down. The two-seamer goes down. So when you have three pitches that all kind of tunnel each other, it doesn't matter what you guess. The hitter is still going to know where that ball is. Still going to be in the same direction that ball goes, unless it's a fastball, straight up fastball. And that is a little worrying if you're a Blank Supremes fan. Sid Finch we looked at already, but I think this was more of a, hey, the 37 innings, that's bad. But I think with Joe Random, it's 30 innings. I know that ERA is high, and I think it's probably closer to what we saw in the regular season. But if you look at the season mode, the ERA was 1.7 compared to everyone else's being like under 1.5. I think the highest was 1.35. And that's what I'm talking about, why I have a worry about Joe Random 2 not being the best Game 2 starter. And if we look at hitting, we have Jonathan Diamond, Van Hecken, and Winnie the Pooh, who hit some home runs and had really good OPSs. Jonathan Diamond is everything you want from a pitch hitter, and I would argue Van Hecken may not be. We don't have this. We don't have spray hitter. We don't have good back-to-back hitter, and we don't have all of the what I would call clutch stats, and we don't have the refined pull hitter. But still a very good hitter overall. All of the ratings meet the requirements. And here, the same thing with Winnie the Pooh, who has more abilities. And if we're looking at that, if these three guys can hit, including Marlowe and Corky Tarask, that's all you could ask for. Terry Triples, if he can hit well, that would be a hope. He did not hit well here. 604, that is not good. But if they have those hitters hitting, they should have a good time in the series. Here we have Dwork, Dugnut, and I'm going to show for Cotty. Dugnut had a very terrible 502 OPS. But Dwork, we'll talk about Dwork first, and then we'll probably talk about for Cotty, who did not have a great day. So Dugnut, the ratings are high, but no abilities. But also the 10 contact is 2 under the 12 you can get maximally, and also the trajectory is 3, which is just worse on power hitting basically. Dwork has all these abilities. We're missing some of these, and we're missing refined. But in general, good bat. Should see him hit some well in the series. All right, now let's look at the rest of the teams. The statistics: Jonathan Diamond for 08, Winnie the Pooh having 7 home runs and 34 RBIs in 33 games is really impressive. And we see a lot of our Flyers pitchers: Karpov getting 79 strikeouts, Yates getting a 2.5 ERA. So just really a dominant performance by the Flyers. And yes, they did do better in season mode and league mode, but I think there are some caveats to look at. Pitchers must recover in season mode and league mode, and we talk about how the Blank Supremes don't have as many pitchers with recovery 4, but this recovery mechanism does not exist in the World Series as it is played. And there's more games in season and league mode where these differences kind of show themselves more. But in a best of 7, anything really can happen. And if we talked about the Blank Supremes having all of these clutch abilities, right, the table setter, rally hitter, walk-off hitter, and bases clearer, that means like these small abilities can show up in massive ways. And we also do not know the effects of Yates 2, who's on the Flyers, Yates, and Archibald in the lineups. Maybe these lineups look differently with these two-way players in them. We can't really test that over season and league mode because I'd have to go into each game and do that. But overall, if we're looking at the teams, right, that's a big question mark, right? How do these players adapt into the lineups? Are the lineups better, or are they even worse? And I think that really kind of sets us up for what can be an exciting World Series. And I think the last thing I would like to say is that I think the Flyers do have better pitching. That's really the main thing. Is that if that pitching is dominant, and that if general because of a walk-off hitter and stuff like that, if the Flyers are able to get leads early in games, they keep Battler, they keep all of these pitching abilities. What's going to happen is that these games are going to snowball very quickly. But if these games get a little competitive, if the Black Supremes get some leads, or even blow some games open, I don't think the Flyers can catch up to them as easily as the Black Supremes can catch up in a pitcher's role. So in general, I would say I think the Flyers do have a better team. But I think in general, I think the Black Supremes have chances to make things very messy. And when things are messy, I think they can have really great success. Alright, so that's the kind of summary of the series, numerical rating-wise, ability-wise, with Sims. And I hope that can give you some hope, or maybe it might give you some things to look at throughout the series. But I really enjoyed doing this video. I'm sorry about the releases, and I will tell you this, the releases for the games will be on every Saturday at 9 p.m. EDT. Alright, goodbye.